live stream. So, but I think it's okay.
Did you? Okay, let me just say hello, welcome, thank you for being here. Uh, I'm Jostein, the host of What If. We have the wonderful Josh X and the beautiful and wonderful Michelle. Special guest. We have two special guests because we also have Christian. Christian.
Hello, hello.
I had Christian on. We did a Norwegian show because our path was crossed by no coincidence, I'm sure. But anyway, we had a podcast and we touched upon the diet and health issue. Um, we're on each side of the fence, but we both respect each other and honor that. At least I do, Christian. You know that you're doing it. You're trying it out, seeing how it feels, seeing how it works for you. So that's the best way to do it. You still haven't tried just going fruit though yet, right?
I haven't tried going all the way with the only fruit. I eager to try it out, but I'm so pleased with the way I'm eating right now,
Yeah,
and I am incorporating a lot of fruit into my diet lately. So
fantastic. Could you just please okay, let's first you can introduce yourself. Maybe that's the best place to start.
so me or the
No,
other?
Christian. Yeah,
Yes,
Christian.
all right. Well, I can introduce myself to you, Josh. Hello, nice to see you. And your girlfriend's name was
Michelle.
Michelle. All right. So nice to see you, and thank you for having me on board on this podcast. My name is, as you see, Christian. I am 33 years young, male,
Mhm.
based in Norway, but originally my place of birth is from Holland. I have always been quite interested in the active lifestyle. I remember when I first made a decision from I am going from a lazy smoking cigarettes, uh, playing video games type of boy uh, to making the decision to become an not as super healthy, but focusing on my health, which I did with doing exercises, going to the gym. I remember still to this day when it was, how I did it, how I proposed it to my then girlfriend. So that's a way of life I have been pursuing lately. I think it's almost 15 years ago right now, and I've been up in there with in weights. I have eaten the most strangest things you can come by. And but lately, I have something has crossed my path, and that is the carnivore diet. So that means for me, I call it the carnivore-ish type of diet because my diet is not completely carnivore, but I try to focus on everything that I eat is either animal-based or and with fruit, supplemented with fruit. So and I've been doing this for now for almost 5 months. I can feel the enormous difference in my body. I have shed a lot of fat. I have shed a lot of lost a lot of weight. I feel stronger. I feel more energetic. My head is clear. I have no brain fog. I'm also a person that sleeps in a very odd, like I have a very odd sleep routine. Sometimes I almost don't sleep, and that can go on for like a week or 2 weeks. With also the what do you call the problems coming from it. But lately, I haven't really experienced a lot of any of it. So I'm very eager to focus more on what this type of lifestyle can offer. But also meeting Justin, and he's telling me about the fruit diet. I am not completely lost. I'm a person that is open for anything, and I'm not completely lost to the carnivore diet, but and I'm eager to try the fruitarian lifestyle. Not that I'm going all out and changing my life, but I'm eager to try. That's my motto. I want to try.
That's very good. So for me, I thank you for welcoming.
Excuse me, Josh. I'm just gonna ask you: do you have the right microphone on?
I should hope so. Bear with me 1 second.
You seemed a bit distant to me. Just.
No, I don't. Thank you. It's not plugged in.
But again, Christian, I honor that you actually put yourself through the work it is to actually try these things out and really be conscious of how you feel, how your body works doing it. So I honor that.
Exactly. My motto, like I said, I am eager to try. I can't really say that I don't like anything. I think it's a stupid way of thinking. You don't like it, I don't like it, and I haven't even tried it, right? So, except for shrimp, I'm not eating shrimp.
No. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, perfect.
Beautiful.
Thank you for being with us, and it's going to be a wonderful time enjoying your company, so thank you. And for me, it seems that you're very conscious of what you're doing, and the only way you're truly ever going to know is through your own experience. So it's very empowering to see you on your journey. And obviously there's no judgment in any way, shape or form from us, because if we did judge, we would be the ones suffering. But can I ask you, your goal? Is your goal to be the healthiest you can be, the strongest, the fittest? What's your mission at this present time with the food journey?
My goal is more to try out the things that come in my path, and on the way I get different ideas on what to try and how things should be in my life. I don't really have a goal, but I noticed that I am really interested in and even more interested into the diet lifestyle, not only diet, but I'm also focusing on other techniques like breathing techniques, right? That's another passion of mine, to do breathing techniques. But right now I'm just trying to live a radical life, or to make a base for a healthy as possible life. And if it's the carnivore diet, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm only 33 years young, so I have plenty of time to find out. But right now, I live in the moment, and I eat a lot of meat. I eat a lot of fruit, and I'm thriving.
Mm-hmm. That's really good. Did you come into this from any type of ailments that you're experiencing that made you sort of focus on your food, start eliminating things that you were previously eating, or have you always been kind of okay?
I can't say that it's because of an ailment. I don't know, but I noticed that I'm not bloating in my stomach. I don't pass a lot of gas like I previously did from eating what I consider to be because of eating vegetables. I don't eat any vegetables right now, and previously I had a lot of like stomach aches. I thought I was lactose intolerant, but that was completely that I found out now that it was completely false, that I'm not lactose intolerant. But I thought I was, because I was eating eating a little chocolate. I was eating drinking a little bit milk, and my stomach, started to, it didn't like it. But no, not because of ailments, but I do feel a difference from before.
And did you come from a standard Western diet type fast food and packaged food? Because a lot of the chemical based foods would cause this kind of brain fog. And I know you mentioned that the brain fog has seemed to lift, and usually from eliminating the chemical types of food where they have, like, tins and packaged foods, is where we get most of the problems from with the digestive system. So have you eliminated those kind of things from your diet and felt that that has made a big difference in the shift that you've felt as well, maybe?
Very good question. It's very true that the processed food that we are given, that is promoted to be a healthy life, be it bread, be it vegetables, be it sugars, be it, is very, very damaging for our gut. No, I've always been focused on eating as less as processed as I can be. Of course, always I have enjoyed occasionally a Burger King meal, but mostly once every 2 months, once a month maybe. So not really having a lot of processed food. I always make my own food. I've done this for years, to make my own food, but I'm quite boring when it comes to making food in the daily life, in the daily everyday life, So I mostly ate potatoes, and I ate like vegetables like broccoli, and occasionally some meat here and there, some fish. So I've never been fully processed like many are today.
Yeah, that's really good. So for us, when people consume things such as dead food or synthesized food, these types of bread with yeast, you find that for every problem created in the body, the solution is a type of either fungus, bacteria, or protozoa that actually is needed in the body to digest these non-food products. So this is what actually causes the sickness and disease within the body as they accumulate within inside the system. But again, they are necessary there to break down the food or the non-food products that people are consuming. So this eventually leads to an overwhelming amount of negatives within inside the system, and they start feeding off the body itself. And then that's when we begin to experience dis-ease, we could say.
Mm-hmm.
So, coming from that diet, for me, we'll just get into this point, is I feel like anyone transitioning from a standard Western diet to a more whole food, natural diet, eliminating processed foods, is going to experience a massive shift in wellness, a massive shift in an awakening, clearness, which I feel that, from what you've explained, is you have experienced. So what made you go to meat/carnivore? Was there types of information, obviously research, people that were inspiring to you? What was the main factor that led you to try this diet?
Well, I've always been a bit of meathead. My favorite type of food is a hamburger with bacon and cheese. Oh, it's delicious. But so actually, last summer I because lately I've been touched more spiritually in doing meditations. So I felt the need to cut out the meat part, and I tried to go a more vegetarian type of eating. That didn't last that long, because I didn't feel that I got the nutrients and the vitamins that are needed to thrive every single day in, day out. So I think it's Jostein and always says "gudfeldig." I don't think it was a coincidence that I stumbled upon the carnivore diet, but it was internet. It was the internet, the social media that first got me introduced to this type of lifestyle. And I actually, because of my interest and because of my own experience of what I felt, I started researching it more. I bought a book, The Carnivore Code. He talks about the author. He talks about all the benefits of eating what he calls the food our people has sought for the entire of our existence. And I started doing a little bit of research here and there, and I could check off all the check marks from what I experienced myself. And yes, it's right that it's completely true that when people start cutting out processed food, will feel the elevation in their body. But I can't really say that I was eating a lot of processed food. The only thing that I really don't do anymore, which I did a lot of before, was eating chocolate. I ate chocolate in the weekends. I try to not eat a lot of chocolate and like processed sugars during the week, but when the weekend comes, I ate chocolate and I loved it every Saturday and Sunday. But Monday, my stomach was angry.
So during the time that you've experienced, is it only recently you've increased fruit into your diet, or did you do that from the very beginning?
So my what's the word? It's the if I can do a plug-in, it's a carnivore MD. It's 2.0 is his Instagram. It was he went completely carnivore, but found out that introducing fruits for carbohydrates was a better option for him. And I almost immediately went from going a normal standard diet with vegetables, bread, and meat to going meat, and fruit. But I've always eaten fruit with the carnivore diet.
Yeah, good. So if I fire this question, so for me, when you said about milk, there's a few things that we have experienced along the way. One, the body doesn't produce enzymes to digest milk beyond the age of 4. For us, when we see logically, everything coded for the human body is what's easily assimilated, what the body recognizes, and what it doesn't recognize. The conversion to a usable fuel is what causes acidosis in the body. So for us, whether or not lactose intolerant or anything, the milk is not easily assimilated by the body. What's your opinion on this? What's your opinion?
I believe in doing what feels best. There's no one else like me, and if my neighbor, if I can call my neighbor as an example, if my neighbor can't drink milk, he or she should of course not drink any milk. I like I told in the beginning, I am a person that likes to try. I want to figure it out, and I saw that he like the carnivore MD, he talks about drinking goat's kefir milk, so not fermented cow milk, but he talks about drinking goat's kefir milk. So I bought some goat's kefir milk, mostly because of the vitamin B12 and all the vitamins, the protein that's in the goat's milk kefir. I drink it. I know that I've also previously believed that our bodies are not meant to digest milk after a certain age, but I can't feel any problems with drinking the goat's milk kefir right now. Of course, the milk that I buy from the store is like, if optionally I would like to get raw goat's milk, which I can make myself with kefir.
That was another question I was going to ask. Are you eating cooked meat or is it raw?
I always eat cooked meat. I haven't eaten raw meat, but lately I've been incorporating liver, raw liver.
Okay. So for one, when milk is pasteurized, just to give the information here, pasteurized is heat treated. Again, that makes the whole process, especially with the enzymes, unrecognizable, denatured. This causes acidosis. So I think, consuming milk is not going to cause the issues instantaneously, but having the understanding that because the enzyme is not within the milk for the body to deal with, the enzyme is produced by the body, and that enzyme production causes slight acidosis. So when one's looking to heal themselves from any type of chronic disease, the very best thing you can do is give the simplest form of nutrition to the body, so then it can repair itself. This is why fasting is so amazing for the healing process. And you mentioned B12. Can I ask, in your humble opinion, the mechanism of the B12 with the animal consumption, why this is better than, say, like a fruit-based, plant-based, or anything like this?
In my humble, I'm not a humble guy. I'm kidding. So I'm fairly new to this, to a diet, and talking about the mechanisms behind the diet. I'm fairly new to this. I only started researching this for some months ago. Of course, I've always been focused on eating somewhat healthy and having a cheat meal once and then. But what I read from the book, and I should say that I can't really explain it like in details on what happens in the body, but I know that vitamins, they talk to each other. So when I'm eating a lot of meat, like if I'm eating a lot of cow meat, like what's the English name for storfe? Just det. Storfe.
Steak?
Yeah, also cows and bulls
Cows.
and
Testes?
that kind of meat.
Oh, okay.
I lost the word for it, but
It's
you get the point. I'm
all
eating a
those-
lot of cows meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Steak.
with steak, a lot of hamburger patties, which I make myself, and I put them on the grill. So vitamins, they talk to each other. So if I'm eating a lot of meat, pure meat, of course I'm going to have the benefits from all the vitamins that I can see that are in meat. But when I incorporate, like, for instance, raw liver, they talk to each other, and they so they talk to each other inside my body, and I feel the difference when I'm not eating like the raw liver, or when I'm eating the raw liver, together with the meat, or together with the goat's milk kefir. I'm trying it out, but I can feel a hell of a lot a difference when I'm eating versus not eating it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Just for us to hear that you are feeling better is a great thing, brother. And we were talking about B12 then. So for me, the liver stores B12 from anything from about 5 up to 20 years, depending on the being. And it goes in a feedback loop in the system of bile. Now, the world itself, if we go to the fruits and the vegetables in the commercial world, they're grown with 3 minerals. So they're lacking 100 minerals at the beginning phase. When synthesized minerals are introduced, they can't actually uptake. So, for instance, if we put synthetic nitrogen into our soil, it cannot uptake nitrogen from the air or from the soil. So B12 is actually found in a bacteria that's in the soil. But the animals are getting B12 from the injections that they get. So what we're getting is a synthesized, albeit synthesized by a natural process, form of B12 that's stored inside the animal, and then we're using that for our body. So we can almost be very deficient in certain things such as B12, and when we consume meat, because it's a nervous system regulator, that we're getting the B12 that's stored in the meat of the animal, that makes us feel very different and very better. And the one thing with this commercial world is because everything is washed and clean, there is no bacteria. So essentially what's happening here in the evolution of our consciousness and through food sensitivity and awareness, it pushes us closer to going back to our own garden, to an environment where we can grow things effortlessly. Now, there's only one thing that's effortless, and it's the seed bearing fruit which produces the trees. And then every season they drop effortlessly with an abundance of more seeds to plant more trees to give you more fruit. Now, if you look at the body's primary source of fuel, the primary source of fuel is glucose and amino acids. So when these glucose and amino acids interact with each other, they create protein synthesis. So it synthesizes protein. So our body's actually designed to basically uptake this fruit, utilize the amino acids, which are in every living thing in a whole form, and then the system of the body creates new tissue. So when we actually consume protein, our body has to break down protein into smaller chains of protein to then utilize, which forms slight acidity in the body. And again, if we're trying to heal from a chronic disease, we want the simplest form of fuel. So just as an argumentation discussion between us, if our body's primary source of fuel is glucose, for me, if we're looking at something such as meat, which contains barely any glucose, how could this be a great source of fuel for our body?
I believe that yes, our body, our sun is really hefty. I should be outside. All right. I believe, of course, I believe that yes, we can burn glucose, but I believe also that it can cooperate with the burning of fat.
Yes, so fat wouldn't be a preferred source of energy. So our 3 main energy systems of the body is an aerobic, an anaerobic, and a creatine phosphate. I got a little diagram to show you.
Are you able to share the screen?
Yeah.
Sure.
Just to show you the primary source of energy and fuel. And I mean, the brain is the only source of fuel that it uses, optimum, is glucose. And when we start to deplete, obviously you're still having that in your fruits, which is great. So when we see the carnivore diet happening over a longer period of time, it's very it depletes the energy stores very quickly, and it can form serious disease. And I was just making a few notes when Josh was speaking then with disease. It can only happen or form in an acidic environment. So if we are at a balanced level or slightly more alkaline level, our bodies will not be able to be in disease. So we will then be able to regenerate our cells, that have been depleted from past or previous history of eating. And with the B12, 95% of the animals are injected with this synthetic B12, and this is where most of the synthesized B12 goes to, is the farming industry. And I always think, why not cut out the middleman when it comes to B12? And, you know, if they're taking the synthetic B12 and then you're eating it, you're having like a secondary source of B12 through their system. So we want the optimum, which is the primary source. Again, what Josh was saying with how things are grown nowadays, it's not optimum, and we do need to get back to growing our own foods in our own fruit forests, which is the goal that we are at the X family trying to achieve. And some exciting new news to come soon in the future. But if we look at this diagram here, all of the systems we see that oxygen, when it's not present and when it's present, at the top there, the primary source is just glucose.
And if it's not used, it's stored into the muscle.
Yeah, it's stored as a glycogen. And then if you take, say, brother, what you were speaking of, fats and proteins, they have to go through a certain process to be broken down into the body, which forms an acidic being again. And
they actually get broken down in the lymphatic system. And
this is where you see disease again. But, you know, if you're still incorporating fruits, this will still give you that, like you said before, the carbohydrates to with the brain function. But the glucose in every system, energy system that we provide the body with is glucose.
But if glucose is not present, the body will convert, which then causes acidosis in the body and a shortened lifespan. I would like to say, if one looks at the lifespan of meat dominant tribes, even Eskimos, and there's some tribes that still consume meat, the life expectancy ranges from like 30 to 45 years of age. So that's a good thing just to look at if you're looking at like a predominant.
Where's their source? Because I've heard otherwise. I've seen people. I've seen videos. I've seen a lot of like not physical proof with my own eyes, but I've seen a lot of that the myth of these Hadza tribes, the Masani tribes in Africa, that they live only to 35 years of age, but that's a myth. What I've been told, it's myth that they live as long as that we do. They have a healthy teeth. They have they're strong like a bison. They have a six pack. They have a very masculine body, and they live as long as we do. So where is this source coming from, and can it really be proven?
The only way we can prove these things is ourselves in our own observation. The information through the years that I've found in my own synchronizations of research is just looking at these predominantly meat-based tribes. You know, you may find different life expectancies among them and different information, because we're in the age of deception. Information is very hard to come by that is true. But you know, it just takes someone some time to synchronize many different types of gnosis that brings more wisdom. So
I mean, we use the slogan "truth" with application. So if you apply your truth and you walk with it, just like you're doing, brothers, you're trying out something that you feel is working for you, and you're running with it, which is great. And this is what we try to teach. And what we have done over the years is exactly the same thing. And when I apply my truth to what I have learned over the years with, a background in nutrition in the matrix kind of way, is when I've applied this truth to it, I can actually, raise my vibration. And I look at, I go by what we have been gifted in this multiverse is the senses, the five senses. And I think that if I look at a picture, would I be able to share the screen with you again?
Yes.
And if we go into some of the senses and we go, that one there.
This one?
Yeah. That one there.
This one. There you go.
Can they see the top of it as well, the pig?
Pineapple,
You can do
papaya,
both.
banana.
Probably best to just leave it like this.
Just go to the pig. So I look at the top part of the image. I don't know if you can see that there. And I think of my senses, and I look at it, and it doesn't appeal to me, and it doesn't appeal to my baby son. And then I look, and then I touch it, and it feels like my friend, and it has an emotion there. And then I smell it, and I think, oh, that doesn't smell like food to me. And yet I pick up something at the bottom here. I pick up these beautiful fruits that have dropped for me, and I think, oh, that vibrancy of that fruit really appeals to me. The touch of it, and the smell, and the taste. It gets my mouth watering.
And these things are the only thing which drops itself effortlessly without the interaction.
Giving, and there's nothing more tempting than if you're hungry and thirsty at the same time. You wouldn't opt for a piece of meat. And when you have to actually go through those situations of killing the animal yourself, it's all put together for us nicely in a packaged container with no real blood on it. It's not like we've got to go out and actually slaughter that animal. And many people across the earth have pets that they love and cherish, and they have that bond with. And I feel like the connection that we have to the animals, they are here for a reason. And I personally do not feel like they are my food. I don't have no inclination to go and cut them, nor does my son, and nor would we as children. If you put a rabbit in front of a child and a nice strawberry, they would definitely pick up the strawberry and not go for the animal with the fur and the blood. They'd go and stroke it and nurture it, and I would personally do exactly the same. So.
And one thing, when you mentioned strong as a bison, or a bit like a bison, what do bisons eat?
They eat grass.
Plant-based.
Plant-based.
Isn't it beautiful that a plant-based animal can provide us with such nutrients, and people are thriving. There are millennia of cultures that are animal-based, and they're still alive. I don't know if it's a millennia, but there's from my point of view, there's a lot of proof from our history going back millions of years that we are the way we evolved is from eating animal-based and having fruits as for the sweet tooth, but also for the carbohydrates, in my opinion. And of course, I completely agree with the point of view that I also mentioned this in the last podcast we had, me and Jostein, that I think the vision of eating meat is ruined by capitalism, that large factories are aiming to have a highest profit and lowest cost, and this will ruin the meat that we are eating. So the meat that we're eating, especially if you buy the cheaper type of meat, it's ruined with
corn and GMO.
Yes, and the animals have a terrible life. Of course, that will leave traces in meat, and we are eating the meat, so it will leave traces inside our body. So I believe that, but I don't believe that we should stop eating meat. I believe that we should. I believe that we should attack the capitalism. We are. Our aim is to make a profit, to make a lot of money. My vision is that people are thriving because of eating meat. But you choose your own diet. But to eat meat that is essentially the cleanest that we can get, a cow that is grazing the soil, eats the grass, fermented inside his body. And what are we getting? We're getting milk and meat. That like and we're getting and of course he's nurturing the soil that again is good for the climate. So yes, that's my vision. But my vision is that we're all thriving on a big a land of a big land with a lot of cows grazing and sheep and pigs and having a healthy, nice life. But when the time comes, they have to be slaughtered because people have to eat and we have to be nurtured.
So, for instance, you have a seed, and the abundance that's contained within the seed is an absolute miracle. But we, in this period of our evolution in duality, are experiencing suffering within inside the world. Suffering is the illusion of the matrix, and everything within inside that matrix is the world of busyness, keeping people very busy, identifying with the ego, so they identify from the aspect of their animal. But when one becomes conscious and starts manifesting the etherical brain, the right side of the brain, to achieve a higher level of consciousness, there's opportunity. See, the world is not the earth. The world offers this and hands it to you on a plate, but the earth offers you interaction with it on a level that's missed. So for me, there is nothing more obvious and easy with no toil other than planting the seed that lasts 100 years, that feeds us in perpetual. Now, for me, in my beliefs and what I have discovered within inside myself, is we don't actually exist in the land we should. If we look outside, there is no abundance. It's very cold. There's only one place, which is around the equator, which equates all of our food, and we have these tropical fruits, which we don't see in these lands here. Now, those tropical alien fruits are as big as my torso, and there's so many different varieties there that have so many different types of metabolizing within the system.
They actually have the texture of meat, don't they, as well? So it's a very different aspect of the diet.
But for me to think that I had to then raise animals, which naturally you would gain a connection to, they would be your family, to then feed an animal for the whole year from the fruits and vegetables that I could be eating instead, to then cull it, it wouldn't feel right with me. But if we go to the physiological aspect of it, and we see that, protein itself, so everything that we consume in an animal-based way is majority of protein, no glucose and fat. Now, as we said, fat is broken down by the lymphatic system. And when we have our gallbladder, you see, just like to jump into this, there's a big craze going on about a gallbladder cleanse. And people are consuming quite a lot of oil.
To remove the stones.
Then they believe they're removing stones, but that's actually the natural process of the gallbladder to remove this fat from the body as a part of the lymphatic system. So our bodies can deal with fat, but it's not optimum for the body. And to see fat and to convert that into a usable form of fuel is very tolling and taxing for the body. And that's what causes acidosis. If we go to protein itself, because the body makes protein, cholesterol is made from a protein, which is made inside the body. That has to be broken down from our animal form, even legumes, for example, and nuts. These are not optimal foods. To be honest with you, they're not foods. They are nitrogen fixers for the soil. So the plants around it that are our foods can actually thrive in a real environment. But because this question arose earlier, the evolution of man has been feeding off animals. Let's say Columbus and commerce and capitalization. People were given opportunities to move away from the land and were sold a dream. Then they had to feed these people. So they had preserves. So they stored seeds and nuts and legumes and gave them animals and fed the animals legumes and nuts and seeds. And we're able to create a history book that made people believe this was the source of food. And from then on, this has led into a belief system that people feel like we naturally are hunters with no instinct. Because there's no hunting instinct inside of us. There's a protection instinct to defend ourselves. But as a predator, for me inside my being, there's no predator instinct. And if we see words, predator is before, so naturally we have evolved. But in a standing consciousness, as an evolutionary step, we had to consume meat because that meat led to suffering, and everyone had to go through this process to evolve themselves to a higher being, which is essentially made of light. But it kept us dense or denser in a lower, unaware experience. So I don't disagree that previously in this experience, which is just a momentary moment of now in a dream state, that the illusion of time has led us to believe certain things, but as an experiencer, we had to suffer to know what it's like to be pure, to make the right choices, and to become free again. How do you feel with that?
Well, you sound very convincing. I must say, and as I said earlier, that I'm fairly new to the diet discussion, so that the fact that I am already having a podcast with a knowledgeable guy and your girlfriend as you are, that says a lot for me. So thank you for that. What I when you talk about the history, how many years are you like, how many years in our history are you talking that what you said?
If we look, we only have buildings to date from. Ones maybe which are still standing to this day in certain areas that prove of the small inhabitants that then had families and then inhabited the land. It's kind of like the illusion of overpopulation, because all one does need to do is travel, and they'll see that there is an absolute abundance of land. But the illusion is held within inside the world, and that world is of suffering. And it's only when we become free from that we can recognize that which is true. But that world is purposefully the opposite. So it's very easy once we become aware of the small opposites, or we could call them lies, but they're absolutely perfect for the evolution and awakening of ourselves.
Can I just jump in there a second, brother? Are you familiar with any form of magnetism at all? Have you looked magnetism, like like magnets and how the earth works? Because I just wanted to show you this diagram quickly.
Before you do, you may know it because you're not English. It is like atom.
Like atom.
But the atom is an actual torus field, which is to do with a magnetic field.
So I just wanted to, when Josh was speaking about the the equatorial regions, the center is like the center here.
See, enter.
When we come to the center, it's the hot weather or the warm weather all year through. So we can grow these fruits that we were speaking of earlier on, and soil is better. We can get all of the nutrition that we need from the plants around us. When we speak of the meat eaters, they're very much here, the cold areas.
And vegetables.
They can't necessarily grow the fruits of the balanced area, the center area. So they have to go one way or the other. And this is why we've had, the people that have had to move out from the center and have to find an alternative route to their food to survive. This is survival mode, the lower chakra, the red chakra. And we have to eat and we have to have shelter. These are the two fundamental things that humans need. When we talk of the people on the outer side of the magnetic scale, they have to find this themselves. So they are hunter-gatherers. They gather for the cold times and they hunt because they have no other means of food. When we come to the center where we actually exist from, this is like the Big Bang or the black hole or whatever you call it of existence. This is the center stage, and this is the heart space. When we talk of the chakras, the lighting up of our light bodies, the energy systems you've probably heard of through, obviously you do your meditations and your spiritual journey. This is our center, our heart space. And when we're connected to that heart space, we no longer feel the need for the killing of sentient beings, because the connection is there to our center. And this is why Josh and I have these plans to take the community to an off-grid area where we can prepare our own soil, where we can live in harmony with nature. And this is the magnetism. What you give out into the world, you get back. And when we come from the heart space, this is the balanced area, and this is where we can light up the energy within us, and we become true magic, pure magic. And the further we come away from that, either one side or the other, it can happen in the spiritual community as well, where the vegans are on a heavy mission to,
change you or change someone, because
it's not about that. It's about, yourself walking through, applying your truth and knowing that everything comes with balance, and everything comes with knowing thyself and the heart space and lighting up that energy within. And that's the ultimate goal here.
Transsensuality.
When we speak of religion and God, they're all the same, but in a different way. They're just perceived in a different way, and we are all one. And this is the message that we send out into the multiverse, the universe, and you are that within one single atom. That is.
You can never see from outside of you. You can only see from inside. And you're aware of everything. You are that which is awareness itself.
So magnetism for you, I think, brother, would be a really good thing to look into and get to grips with, because everything is of that when it comes to the physical world. We have the energy, frequency and vibration, and this is how we raise that. Once you understand the workings of the earth and how we can manifest, like literally the manifestations come in an instant once you
with your freedom.
Once you can know thyself. And it's been a really big, important part of our journey, and knowing thyself.
And the most important thing is that what you do doesn't cause you suffering. I wish I didn't do this. I don't know if I should do this. The very most important thing you can do is go through your experience, be very sensitive to life, observe it, and make adjustments.
And that's really what struck me when you first came on. You said, I'm feeling great from this. I'm open to everything else. And the fact that you said that at the very start, that you're open to other things coming in or leaving, is an absolute blessing, because a lot of beings are very tunnel vision with one thing or the other. And this is when we look back at this picture, this is one side and the other again. And if we can stick to that middle balance, everything falls into place again. So it's about being open and honest.
And Will, when we were speaking, sorry to not give a chance, but when we were speaking of Will and the vegan community, or certain people that are in a belief that they have to change other people's opinions, but you can never change anyone's opinion.
No.
All you can do is present something, if they're willing to listen, and allow it to assimilate inside themselves, and they will go on a journey if it resonates. And the people that try to change will cause more suffering to themselves, because it's saying to them that something isn't right. When you understand that everything is perfect, even the animals that are experiencing the corporate industry can be looked very different with a different perception, because you could say these animals would not be experiencing any form of life if they weren't created in a commercial form, and they have 5 years of life. But when you understand let's say, dharma and karma. Every being in this existence is going through an evolutionary state. And sometimes when one has done something in their experience and have devolved, or just at that level, they have to surrender their life to a higher form of life. Now, because those are going through this period of time, it's absolutely perfect for them. Because in their karmic wheel of evolution, they actually have to go through that process. And everything that we are experiencing and seeing on this particular plane right now is perfect. It's perfect. So when we surrender the will to change that, we actually alleviate ourselves and become free. Now, you can still evolve spiritually consuming meat, consuming anything. But it's only concepts that hold one down to the belief of the body and mind. But if in this body and mind one wishes to experience the truth of the physicality, in our experience with helping people heal disease and our own personal vibration, for us, the highest form of food is fruit. It brings back your senses, it gives you a connection to this plane, and it frees up any type of illness that was there. And when you go to a fruit-based diet and you incorporate other foods back in, you then are very sensitive and can feel what is right for the body, such as garlic and onion, and they're poisonous to the body, and you can really feel this. But please, thank you for hearing this.
Well, it was very beautiful. There was no need for me to hop in and interrupt or say anything. It was very beautiful what you said, and I believe it. Of course, I believe it. Like I said, I'm a person eager to try, and I'm a person that is open for other opinions. When we first came online, my initial thought was, wow, these persons, they light up. So there's a truth in what you're saying. My question is this a lifestyle that can be? Is this a lifestyle that can be that we can like the rest of the world can live off? Because we are people, we are divided as people, we are people that live in different countries, in different areas, different regions, different cultures, and they're like for a basic, I guess my question is, for a basic like type of diet for everyone to thrive on. Is this, in your belief, is this the type that you should that people should pursue?
That's such a good question, isn't it? I really, I love that you've had this idea, because it's so important that beings are getting the correct nutrients in their food or what they consume, because the health benefits that they can get from it, or the opposite, the deficiencies that they can have, will cause tremendous problems within their being.
Simple fixes.
If they're not aware of this. So just cutting out food and going straight to a fruit diet is not advisable at all. It would take a process, which we have on our website as well, transitional process, transitional foods. We hear of so many people that have crashed and had to go back from being plant-based to the standard Western diet because they have so many problems.
There's one thing we need to realise is the ego identifies with certain things and it holds on to something. If the being hasn't actually evolved to a state of recognition and understanding, then they'll do this, they'll elevate their awareness and won't be able to handle what's coming. Like the freedom, the attention and the awareness of the mind and the chatter that goes on, for us, when we help people evolve to a predominantly fruit-based diet, you can still experience everything you wish to, but predominantly fruit-based, the noise of the mind starts to quiet down naturally. And then you start to be able to observe its nature. And it's a very simple process in becoming free from the identity of that perpetual state of unconsciousness, which leads me to say that the world is predominantly unconscious, and the unconscious will be led. So if the unconscious have you could say a script or a theme of a certain nutritional lifestyle, then the world would naturally fall into place. But as we spoke of predators being predators, the evolution of predators and, let's say, awareness being inside of an animal that has to hunt, we're moving beyond this now. We're not in an age of scarcity. We're in an age of abundance, even though scarcity is perceived by some.
Mm.
The world's food population, or the world's food, is actually half consumed and half thrown away.
Waste, pure waste. And as you know, that's such a shame for beings that believe they're in famine states, because the countries that are at this famine level are, this is ridiculous, because half of the food is there available, but they're just throwing it away. And it's like, how are they making it, like, how are they dividing, like you said earlier, brother, they're dividing this community, and they're making us come away from that oneness again, that balance within the grand scheme of things.
But that's perfect for psyche evolution.
Yeah.
Because there's opinions, and opinions hold you to a shape or to a form which you identify with and suffer.
And then you have emotions that come up. You see this on TV, the famine and the people that are starving, and hard. It's hard for them, and this gives you that connection to, again, the heart space, and it makes you feel a certain way about it. And this is what they're trying to do with the media, is create this divide and conquer. And then they'll offer a solution, and everyone will be like, "Oh yes, the governments have come in again and helped out." So it's
only the unconscious. The unconscious are the ones which fall for this. So when you're able to see it, you realize that the government is mind, and it governs minds, and that's all it's there for. If you're unconscious, you will be led. So the government serves a purpose, albeit when one becomes aware, they start to then turn their attention to the negativity of it. But again, that is another trap, because that trap that we fall into, there arises emotions. But that emotion can be recognized when one becomes aware, to be able to let go of that fact and recognize it is I on this journey. I cannot change anything or anyone. All I can do is evolve myself. And then we can go to the scriptures. Jesus said the world is for suffering. But he mentions, or the Bible mentions, the earth at the same time. So they're two different things. The meek shall inherit the earth. And the meek are beings who are self-aware and become aware of the self, and realize that this moment is for experiencing, because devoid of experience is nothingness. And to be that which we truly are, awareness of nothing, we would wish for something. And we are in that something, experiencing something. That's the magic of life, with unlimited opportunity in this moment to choose. Now, do we make the right choice or not? And we experience evolution in a physical state, in a mental state, in a spiritual state, all depending on our choices.
And with regards to the question directly that you asked before, brother, was about thriving in different countries and stuff, we are trying to set up this network of communities where we can have at least one or two communities near, or in the same country at least, as beings that wish to be on this journey, because with the support of other beings and the guidance that we can give with the nutritional side and the abundant side, is what we're trying to create within this community. And like you said, there are different countries that won't be able to provide the amount of fruits that we can get in the equatorial region. So this is again something that we're trying to head towards now in this new sort of shift that we're feeling at the moment.
And quickly, that just reminded me that when we were speaking of like meat-based and vegetable-based, you see they very much grow in a colder climate, but they're under the ground. And these are basically for replenishing soil. But what they do when consumed is they elevate and raise the body temperature. So you're more acclimatized to live in these cold climates. For example, we have a community juice fast going on at this present time. And one of the main things we get is I get very cold during the juice fast and I live in a cold climate. Is it okay for me to do this? But see, when you go to the fruits, there's less friction in the body because they are absorbed very simply, ferment inside the gut. The gut bacteria feeds off this, and then through the intestinal wall, you absorb vitamins and minerals.
And your muscles will uptake the glucose very fast because it's the quickest form of energy, the most efficient form of energy. Since training on this fruit diet, Josh and I have, we've come from a fitness background, but this is a whole new level of training.
You tried to find the soreness in the muscle.
There is no, no matter how much we train, the aching is very minimal, and the recovery is so quick. You can, it's very, very different because of the amount of glycogen levels that we have in the muscles compared to, back before I was on this journey. I found that I just go through a few symptoms that I had before I started with my plant-based journey, and the first thing that I noticed was the amount of hair. On my arms, I have pretty much no hair anymore, and it used to be very dark and pretty coarse, and I had it on my tummy and my lower back as well, the hair, the sort of black hair, and all of that is completely gone. I do not ever need deodorant anymore, even if I'm at the gym. We don't use soap products either. We just use bicarbonate soda
and lemons.
And we there is no smell. My skin, hair, and nails, the growth is so different. I don't ever wash my hair with the products that we used to use, and it's just so different now, the thickness of it and the shine, and it's just so many different things that have happened that I feel like we shouldn't have to buy all of this perfume to cover up the smells of our bodies because we're eating dead animals or rotten things that are on offer in the supermarkets that have been there for a long period of time, that are pasteurized, that have got all of these things added to them so that they can have a shelf life of 1 week. And those kind of things really hit home with me when I first started realizing them. I was kind of like, oh, it must just be a coincidence, but it's actually like a very long-term thing now that has
it's across the board of all the people we get to experience in our lovely community as well, the reduction of the hair, and it's just an alleviation of lethargy as well. Lethargy, tiredness,
like the energy levels.
When you cook a meal and then you consume a meal, you'll know if it's potato based or if it has meat. You'll find there's some sort of lethargy that comes from this. But this again is because of heating food denatures the enzymes, and the enzymes interact with the saliva as pre-digestion, and it gets the stomach ready with the right type of bacteria so it can pull the nutrients from the food. But when they're not present, the body makes them, and that causes toll, acidic forming, and then tiredness. But when you just consume the fruits, there is no tiredness. So you'll notice as you just do this through the journey, if that's your choice, we call it just a food evolution and a transformation. You just go try and go back. And you usually just continue to creep forward because you recognize certain things within your body are starting to feel different when you consume previous foods.
And the sun is the best cooker in the world because, or the earth, because it takes 5 to 6 months to cook our food or to prepare our food, and then it just gives us that fruit effortlessly, and it drops off of the tree. We are not, some
Vegetables
beings,
you have to cut.
yeah, and
pull.
some beings say, oh, it's got a vibration, and you're still cutting it, and you're still, this is a little bit of a debate with the carnivore area and the vegan areas, that you're still cutting that vibration, but the fruit just drops when it's ready, and it's like there for you.
And it spells for you it.
For you it.
For you it.
Fruit.
How do you spell love? Love. I didn't get the word love. I would Google them.
Lethargy.
Lethargy.
Argy.
Yes.
And this is taking the energy away from the body, causing the acidity, the acidic environment of the body. And when the sun cooks our food for us over that period of time and it's perfectly ripe, our body is in pure balance and in a heavenly state because it enjoys that food. In joy, it's in pure joy when we're eating it.
So as for evolution, if we see that we would consume the fruit, and without toilets in the world, we would do it in nature, the seeds would be in our feces, and then we would put it into the soil, which would actually mineralize and bring great bacteria to the soil, and then grow. And if anyone's done seed studies, you'll see that seeds straight from the fruit grow much faster than seeds from a packet.
We've done a video that we're going to put out on our website of how fast we actually planted a whole tomato, and it came out within 5 days. They came out within 5 days, and the seeds that we planted from a tomato from a packet come out in like about 12 to 15 days.
And the coloration.
And it's very different when you plant it from the whole fruit, or the actual seeds from the whole fruit. And I don't know whether you're familiar with photosynthesis, but we, as part of a reciprocation cycle, we need these plants and these trees to actually breathe. They clean our air. The
trees.
Yeah.
The best friend. Fruit trees.
100%. They give us shelter, they give us clean air, they replenish our soil, they create homes for the wildlife to keep the ecosystem working. They're just giving all the time, and we need to give back to them in form of reciprocation of energy. And this is how we, with the farming of animals and that, a lot of the forests are
deforestation.
Are being cut down for this fact, and we need to reverse that.
It causes water levels to rise. It causes lack of rain. Every time you plant tree and you create a forest, it allows precipitation and reciprocation of rain, and it's effortless. But in scattered areas where we plant trees and maybe dry environments, we have to water them. But if you create a good mulch for the soil, they'll never need watering anywhere. But the thing to note is, with seasonal fruit and vegetables, there is some labor, some toil. But with the fruit tree, there is none.
In the tropical regions.
But because we are here, we get limited fruit. Us being in the UK at this present time, you being in Norway right now, the level of fruit we receive is picked early, not ripe, in cold storage, so it doesn't ripen properly, and children don't have the taste for fruit because it doesn't taste nice. It's only got 3 minerals in it. It's lacking the good bacteria that you would find from picking it fresh, and there's an absolute disconnection from the relationship between us and nature.
Because of the supermarkets that provide it to us in packaging. A lot of children don't actually see how something grows nowadays. They just think it comes from the supermarket as as crisps or chips, or so they even cut up the fruit and the vegetables now and put it in packets rather than selling the whole fruit. So it's one of those things again that it's taken away from the natural state.
And the more you see someone convenience, say with chopped food or packaged food or crisps, the more disconnection they have. And that's busyness. That's just busyness. Eating food presently and having the experience is a whole different level, and that's what we're here to do, is experience.
And as we were eating, like if we look back in our history, you talked about when the seeds enter our body and we flush them out, they re-enter the earth and nurture the soil for new vegetables and new fruits to arise. Also, animals have this. They eat the fruit or they eat the vegetables and they eat the seeds. They go on a long hike, as I should call it, and new fruits and new vegetables were able to grow in new areas, complementing the ecosystem or creating a new ecosystem, a complete new place. So I agree with what you're saying, and that's why I really want to try a fruit-based diet, just to see how my body reacts to it. The question I have with a fruit-based diet or with the vegetable diet is actually the seeds, that because as we can agree on that the seeds are the DNA of the fruit or the vegetable, and in my opinion the vegetable doesn't want his DNA to be eaten.
True.
So it will protect it in some sort of way. And if we look back evolutionary, 400 million years of vegetables growing on Earth, they have found a way to protect themselves from being eaten by an algae or by you name it type of animal, and in evolution humans. So they have created a way to protect themselves. So what recent studies, or not recent studies, but what I've found out that when we eat a lot of vegetables, and when we mainly focus on eating vegetables, we're getting a lot of these defense mechanisms, defense chemicals in our body. From the brassica family, the broccoli or the kale or other types of vegetables, they are defending themselves, and we are paying the price for it with what today's society would call disease. From my point of view,
is that the same as the animals though? Because they produce adrenaline and cortisol when they are scared and when they are in fight or flight mode, and this then gets projected into the system, and then the animal is slaughtered at that point, and it holds the adrenaline, cortisol, stress hormones, everything in the animal that you are then eating, along with the antibiotics and all of the other injections that it's carrying. So
of course
we balance that in form of, would I rather have those kind of energies in my system or the opposite? However, the simple solution that fruit offers is that there is none of that, because it just drops when it's ready. Although, like you said, we don't always have access to that, and the supermarkets that provide us with that, it's picked early, it's like you said, has all of that, the package that comes with that. But we have to balance this again that we spoke about. We always have to balance these ideas and say, would I rather take on board those energies from that slaughtered animal, or would I rather take on those energies if that is an option? And I know what I would choose in that situation. However, it can be overcome if we take those virtuous steps to perform a natural elevation in future for our own being.
And this is where we meet a crossroad, even though, as Jostein pointed out in the beginning of this podcast, that we are on other sides of the fence, but there's an agreement between us that we meet a crossroad, we meet a problem. Me being a carnivore, you being a fruitarian, we have the same problem is capitalism and the production and the aim and the goal just to make a profit, which and our products are suffering because of it. That's our I can see that this is our main problem that we have. Either you're a vegetarian, a fruitarian, or a carnivore.
A consumer.
Carnivore. Yes, you're a consumer.
Yeah.
So back to my question. What I can see that this type of lifestyle is beneficial for people, of course, but vegetarians would I hate it that I have to say it like with a identification, vegetarians, carnivore, like there's we are all one, like you said, and identifying ourselves by either being carnivore, either being vegetarian, vegan, fruitarian, it's also a product of westernization and capitalism. But I can see that this is beneficial for a lot of people, and especially if you're spiritually active, rising above and rising above and getting a higher vibration. But I can't see that this is a solution for our world. I can't see it. We're never able to convince the world of that this is the right way, just as that we can never convince the world that carnivore is the right way. We can never convince the world that vegan, vegetarian lifestyle is the right way, because of the way we are the way we are living. I think you should you can't live a normal standardized lifestyle with busy and being focused on you should have a higher perspective of something. I believe
The evolution of all these things come into fruition kind of organically and naturally. So when one becomes food aware, the journey begins. When one becomes aware of thought, the journey begins. When one becomes aware that the choices they have made has led them to this position, they can then start to express themselves. You see, in your true expression, the world has a place for you. So you begin to divinely express yourself, thus having a field that emanates that beings who aren't quite on the same level aspire to. And in any shape or form, whether it's just the fitness industry, if it's just the food industry, if it's spirituality, if it's rugby, football, basket, people will always have a divine expression here. Mm-hmm. So for one, I think the most important thing we can do is not focus on changing the world, because the world will change when it's ready. We just focus on doing what is best for us at that particular time. Mm-hmm. And our evolutionary state leads us to the level of freedom, which allows this to just organically materialize. But we don't recommend vegetables as such, because, it's very obvious, especially when consuming raw vegetables, there's a lot of gas, there's a lot of bloating, they're hard to digest, they're very hardy. As you mentioned, kale. If we ate kale, we would have a very bad stomachache just in this moment. So the nature of cooking has come into play to be able to consume these types of foods, which helps get rid of these chemicals produced by the plants to stop them being eaten. For example, seeds and nuts. Seeds and nuts are for planting. They're not for eating.
Mm-hmm.
They've also got a protective mechanism within inside of them. And this is why when people sprout the bean, the legume, the nuts, or the seeds, there is a better absorption because the phytic acid isn't there, which causes the body great acidity and issues. But again, those are stay pools that keep people in the environment they are in a form of slave food. But again, everyone is where they should be. Everything is necessary and everything is for you and your evolution. It depends on how one sees it, if they realize it, and they're able to do their best. That's the most important thing for me. Everyone has a choice, and that's what is the most important thing to recognize.
And when we speak of the corporations providing food, even though it's not at all optimum, at least we're, beings are being provided for, and they have somewhere to go to actually get this, because they're not, many beings are not in a position where they can get their own food. So the corporations have stepped in to provide this for us. And, this is a really important note to take, is that if you're being provided for, ultimately you're not self-sufficient.
Yes.
So you cannot provide your own food for yourself, so someone else has to do it for you. And this is where most beings are in the world. There is no way to provide all year round food for your family and your being
without
to
the
keep
corporations.
it. So they are providing for us at the moment, and this is why we are suffering because we are not in control and we are not in balance.
And essentially that's what this experience is about, is gaining control of ourselves and then being able to be self-sufficient and suffice to the self, which is a state of being, not a state of doing. There's one thing I would like to mention before I forget, is if you look at a lion, okay, and a lion will not eat a hyena because a hyena eats meat. So if you look into that, you'll see that even a lion knows that something which eats meat is not beneficial for itself because it contains no nutrients. If they kill a hyena, they will leave it. And then we go to the biggest land animals on earth. The biggest land animals on earth are rhinos, elephants, giraffes, gorillas, bison, and these all consume the primary sources of fuel. Now, I'm not saying that a bison who eats grass is eating the best form of fuel for it, because in the world of perfection, outside of our window and everywhere we walk would be effortless fruit everywhere. Now, if you give a gorilla a piece of fruit or a root, vegetable or leaf, the fruit will be consumed first. If you were fasting for 6-7 days and then you did a dry fast on your last day, and I put out a beautiful spread for you of fresh strawberries, papaya, mango, banana, grapes, cherries, durian, jackfruit, coconut, and then I put some vegetables on the table, and then I put some nuts and seeds, and then I put some chunks of, let's say, pork, as it was, just with like the hair and the skin and the fat and the flesh. Which one naturally do you feel like you would turn to with your senses, starving, hungry, and thirsty?
That would, of course, be the fruit.
And also, that you would not be, if you were in that fasted state, you would not be able to, you wouldn't physically be able to digest that food because it would be be too dense. The fruit would be the only option for you, and you wouldn't be able to consume the other products because they would come straight back out, or you'd have a very serious problem with digestion. Because, and this is what we need to look at in our pure state of being.
What
Glucose
is easy?
fruit is optimum. There is no question about that. And then these other foods come secondary, and then third, fourth, down the line. So these are becoming then less efficient. So our body becomes less efficient.
And training the mind during that process of consuming, let's say, meat. First of all, they hide all the senses. So the sight isn't there. You don't know it's an animal. The taste is cooked with vegetables or fruit or seasoning.
Or the blood is taken away.
And then if one can consume like a raw carnivore, initially there's an impulse to, oh, this is terrible, and then you condition the mind to be able to accept this. So in a natural state, in my opinion, for me it seems that it is not my source of fuel or food. It is just a sentient being on a journey, and the animal is a stage that it hasn't reached to man, human. Hu means God, man. So it's God, man. It's the ability to lose the recognition that you are God, the creator, in a body that has choices that it can make to recognize the self once again.
Which is consciousness. So the evolution of consciousness is when you come to this state and this recognition, is that consciously I would never make that decision because I know that it's not optimum for my being. But unconsciously, through learnings or media or someone that might make logical sense to someone that's not living in the proper place in the world, you start to then follow patterns instead of come to your own inner truth and your own inner balance. And then that becomes the suffering, because it's not your truth, it's with someone else's knowledge or someone else's gnosis.
But eventually all roads that are off balance and perfection lead to a form of pain body suffering.
And this is the duality that we speak of here.
So this is the left and right hemisphere. This is the animal, the animation, the ego.
The material.
This is the spiritual being who's activated the right side, which is the righteous, the free state of being. But concepts can arise in both. So the state is to be as you were before these things arise, which is just pure awareness, observing reality, but having the choice to engage in either side without bias. And I think, having that understanding of the seed and the nut is for planting, the legumes for planting, all nuts, all seeds, olives, etc. They fixate nitrogen into the soil. Vines fixate nitrogen. They work alongside the trees. All animals, all nature, everything is in absolute perfect harmony.
And when we look at this again, when Josh said harmony, it's a reciprocation of energy, and that's why it's the 8, because we always come back to the center. It's a pure reciprocation. No matter what we've spoke about today, what subject we've spoke about, everything is a reciprocation.
Yeah.
The plants, the animals. And if we work with that and we work with nature, this is where we can become the die state, the center, the balance.
To learn to die is to be liberated from death. And die is D4, which is form, and I, which is 9, is consciousness. But die in English, if you look it up on Google, like dipolarism is a balanced state between positive and negative.
Right,
and they're touching, and what happens is it releases light. So essentially you balance yourself between these two temples, you release light within your system.
And that's the same as the ATP system, the glucose energy systems that we spoke of before, brother, with the aerobic and anaerobic systems. The two systems that work here, when we create that spark here, and the ATP becomes ADP, diphosphate.
Anything in language is balance. Meditation is me die at ion. Now ions are positive and negative neutral charges within inside the atom or the torus. So meditation is me balanced at my ion level, which is energy.
Balanced state. The dye is the actual the spark that sets it all off, the very center. And it's a very key fact to understand that those two energies coming together.
See, to discover is die, S-C, over. So you need to discover that the die sine wave balance, and you see over everything with that balance. And if you look at every word with die in it, you will recognize the nature of English or language itself, because language wasn't written by anyone. It is an expression of consciousness itself.
And it's so beautiful.
It is so beautiful. We didn't come here to convert you. We didn't come here to change you, because we know you're perfect as you are. We know that your journey, especially with your openness, is going to lead you to a holy place, which a whole is devoid of all things. This is die. No baggage. Just this moment. And experiencing the joy of everything, whether it be a cup, a computer, a conversation, skin on your wife, your partner, the hairs, the taste. No judgment, just experience.
For the experience, yes, and like the pureness that comes with it, we're in abundance, and the suffering there's no need.
Everything is okay. Everything. This is the experience. The one who has a preference or an opinion suffers. So continue to do the journey of Solomon, solo being one, you, Mon being one, the solo one on your journey.
Building the temples, your temple. Build your temple, know thyself.
Build your temple, or turn your house into a temple, and clean the temple, and God shall dwell with you forever. Hold no concept, immaculate conception, in no sense. Presence is pre-sense. Don't bring yesterday with you. Don't try to change the past. Don't try to control the future.
The God is within you, always.
You are God. You are the creator. You are the source of your suffering. You are the source of your happiness. And we wish everyone just to maintain happiness and balance and peace.
There is a saying of, you are both the problem and the solution. So why not be either of them and just be at balance, at peace at all times?
Why not see there is no problem, there is no solution, there is no student, there is no teacher. There just is. And give gratitude for this moment that we get to share with you and Brother Jostein. And we're really grateful for this discussion with you. We see the divine in you. You're an incredible being, and just thank you so much for the time that you've given us tonight.
Thank you, brothers.
Thank you, thank you. It was beautiful.
Very, very beautiful. And I didn't have to say a single word.
No.
I have one last question.
Please.
How is your breathing?
Complete.
Your normal, natural breathing, and your sleep.
So I breathe through my nose. I breathe from the diaphragm to the center to the top in a three-way system, consciously. Unless sometimes we're on these conversations where I have to speak, sometimes I may breathe through my mouth. But I know my nose is the very organ or the subject of breathing. And if we look into the past, we'll see that mouth breathing was actually labeled a dirty habit. And it's very important that we understand the true breathing mechanisms of the body, as it is one of the most important things for our health.
And with regards to sleep, brother, when you are free of lethargy that we spoke of earlier, or tiredness from the cooked foods or the dense foods, you find yourself not needing as much sleep. So if I'm fasting, like the juice fast, we've got a fast at the moment where we're doing a community fast, and the energy that you have is heightened, is elevated. So the sleep becomes less of a need. You don't feel like you wake up refreshed. There is no grogginess, heaviness. So the sleep is definitely lowered when you become freer. So I noticed when I made the transition that I had probably 2 hours less sleep per night as usual, than what I used to have or need. So there isn't a struggle to get to sleep, and there isn't a struggle to rise up in the rising.
And if there is a struggle, trying to sleep is not sleeping. So we need to learn not to try. Trying to become spiritual is to defeat the object. It's effortless. You are already that. Any objective that is external, you have become lost. So know that you are that which you seek. It's just a recognition of the divinity that's inside each and every one of us. And we find that by applying our own truth. And that's what makes you so very special, brother. On a journey and a quest of your own truth, which is going to essentially lead you to recognition and higher consciousness, which is the purpose of this realm, Earth, that we are in at this present time. And it's a pleasure to be here and share this experience with such beautiful people as yourselves. And know that as a part of spiritual arrogance, some people judge others when they are not eating plants, are not labeling themselves as a non-killer of animals. But we know that everything is perfect innately. And I'm glad that there is no suffering from you with this food journey. Just accept everything, just continue to apply, and you will expand beyond belief. Did we have any questions, Brother Jostein, in the chats?
Not too much questions. Some inputs, direct questions. So I think everyone was just consuming the information. It was all very beautiful, and I had the sense and the feeling that it would be a good discussion, with me saying nothing.
You're
We love you,
beautiful,
baby.
I don't need to say anything, so it's okay.
It's just your presence we love having around.
Thank you.
I think we should. I think we should schedule after the summer holidays that I could go 1 week on a guided fruit diet.
Yes. That would be incredible.
Yeah.
And we'd love to give you access to our wonderful community so we can have you as a family member and enjoy the wonderful conscious community that we have. And everyone there is very beautiful and kind.
Thank you.
So thank you, brother. And one other thing before, because this has been quite a complete show, is the necessary need for protein to build muscle tissue on a plant-based or fruitarian lifestyle. Muscle is made from protein synthesis from the glucose and amino acids. Muscle volumizes and expands through hypertrophy and training and stores glucose in it. So the muscles will grow with the correct level of volume of food. If the volume isn't there, the muscle will not grow. So firstly, understanding that when you consume fruits, they're so easily assimilated that within an hour and a half or 2 hours, you can consume another large portion of this. And this way you can consume as much food as you wish without inflammation within inside the body, also allowing the body to take what it needs and then fuel its system. So it is possible. I'm going through a personal journey at this present time to show this to beings who may learn something from it. I've been training for 3 months, about 3 months, and I've put on about 4 stone, but I'm going to continue to do this.
In muscle, not fat.
I can see your arms.
Yeah, and I'm going to continue to do this now forevermore, just to show people that, you know, if we look at a gorilla or we look at a hairless chimpanzee, and we will see the muscular structure of them is very large, and the correct fuel, in our opinion and experience, is the source of fruit. For you, amino acids, amino acid.
And the body shapes that have changed over the years. If you look at pictures back when they didn't have any of these processes put in place, maybe like 100 years ago, the body shapes were slender, athletic looking, almost. And now it's come to a stage where we have obesity,
distended
diabetes,
stomachs,
and all of these chronic illnesses. From just the food that we're consuming and the pharmaceutical industries that are heavily funded, where they're pushing these chemicals into these beings that are unaware and not informed of the correct procedures to take their bodies to the next level. And this is what Josh and I are proving to not just the community, but outreaching it into the YouTube areas, that we don't need to look, dense all the time with all of this heaviness on the weight of the world on our shoulders, as it were. It's about being an athletical being that would, shine and light up the room when you walked in, rather than, being this dense being that we see walking around almost zombie-like around the streets now.
It's an absolute evolution, de-evolution opportunity. Whoever takes that and walks with the righteous path will experience this lightening process. So thank you. And language is a great thing. I haven't been able to learn your beautiful languages, but if we see diabetes, just taking a look at the word, it comes from Latin, and it means through idiocy. Diabetes is through idiocy, like diagnosis is through gnosis is diagnosis. So it's through gnosis, knowledge. So we can actually interpret the world from consciousness as expression of language, and it helps us on the journey. Like solution, you'll see soul, you, T, ion, soul, you, physical ion. But you'll integrate this, and we'll probably have another discussion if this interests you. But there is such a beautiful thing to see in everywhere you look. So, thank you so much, both of you wonderful brothers.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you all for being here, like the listeners and viewers. It was fantastic. And I can just quickly say what the Sister Michelle said, that like as soon as I have some cooked food or these things, there's body odor comes quickly back, both through the skin and through the normal exit. So yeah, there's something there. But anyway, thank you all. We will do a follow-up and probably guide Christian through a week or two on fruits and see how he handles it.
Good luck.
I'm looking forward. I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay.
Also, I'm kind of do I have to give up the meat? But I'm really looking. Just a joke. I'm really looking forward to it. So
just a quick, also just from my own experience about meat. The first time I had meat after being off meats, I would say 4 or 5 months probably when I started the journey. The first time I consumed meat to like an experience to see what it did, it actually gave me anxiety. The next day I was anxious. And same with sugars. You mentioned chocolates. I am also lover of chocolate, or at least I was. I still am, but don't eat too much. Also, sugars give me anxiety next day. It's like you've been on a binge with alcohol. Same feeling. I don't know if it's a physical reaction or if it's my higher self or telling me you've been bad. I don't know, but at least there's sensations there that's not optimal.
Because your body or your being is now out of balance with whether it be emotional response to it, spiritual response, physical response. It's all about the balance again. And brother, what you're experiencing is that no matter what it is, something's taking you one way or the other, rather than being back in that center space where you know it's right, the righteous path. And that's all you're experiencing through the suffering.
What a wonderful experience we have.
Gratitude.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best on your journey, Brother Christian. And know that we're here for you anytime you wish to reach out or need any questions or just need some support or a family. We're here for you, brother.
One love.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Have a great night. And thank you everyone for being here with us.
For the family.
A wonderful pleasure as usual.
Thank you all. See you again very soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.